he lost control of his mind. Edward says, "You know it very precisely. Now I also know why the people made you into a superman with a divine function." Jmmanuel says, "You are very wise and quick-thinking." Edward says, "You deserve the flowers and not me." Jmmanuel says, "You have peculiar language, but I understand its meaning. It is good and it honors you. But let us sit here on these stones because I would like to have a conversation with you." Edward says, "You know my name and also Asket's. Do you know each other then, and has she told you about me?" Jmmanuel says, "You are very connected to reality. Number. I have, as yet, never spoken with Asket. My knowledge about you two is of another nature. It is to be found in my power of consciousness, through which I behold the times." Edward says, "That therefore signifies clairvoyance, so to speak." Jmmanuel says, "In a certain manner you think correctly, because truly it is previewing, a looking out ahead." Edward says, "In a certain manner?" Then it can only be that you are able, through the power of your consciousness, to wander through the ages and can explore them in that way. Jmmanuel says, "That is my knowledge." How are you able to grasp that? I understand. That way is very good. You must also know it, because very difficult things stand before you. Edward says, "That is so, I know, yet surely you will also face a very difficult test." Jmmanuel says, "Life demands all sorts of things, as you say. But we must treat our path and traverse it in honor and in fulfillment of the laws. As I will treat my path, so will you also treat yours, and in the same way every human will always have his own path to traverse." Edward says, "I am also of the same view, but may I put some questions to you which are burningly interesting to me?" Jmmanuel says, "Your nature and your thoughts are familiar to me, and so I want to answer your questions before you have to voice them. My teaching, which I spread in these lands, is not new and it is well known to the scribes. But they falsify the old teaching of the prophets which was handed down to them and is very learned. But they disdain and falsify it and interpret it to their own advantage. Therefore, they accuse me of lying because I preach against their lies. From the old teaching of the laws of creation and the spirit, they have set up erroneous cults which take freedom of consciousness from the human and drive him into servitude, whereby they can enrich themselves with his possessions. From the spiritual teaching, they have made a false teaching, and they have abased creation to a human entity which they call God. But God is a ruler over humankind and over worlds, and he can never be put on a level with creation, because its being is the highest, and outside of it, truly, nothing exists. But the scribes and the Pharisees dispute these teachings of the Spirit, and they blaspheme me by calling me a liar because I announce the truth. The truth, however, is at all times unpopular, and it is also so at this time. Truly, I say to you, if a human, such as I, speaks of the truth, announces it and spreads it, he will thus be persecuted and hated because of it, in my time as in yours. I will therefore be persecuted and will not escape the Myrmidons, because life has determined it for me thus. But you will also be persecuted in that way because also you will, in your future world, have a mission to fulfill, as do I. My coming days are very difficult, and I feel bitterness and hurt in me because I know the events which approach me. Yet I will not escape from them because this is determined this way. The human of this world has succumbed to very great need and confusion, driven in by the false teachings of the scribes and Pharisees and all those who stroll along in their footsteps. Truly, I say to you, this will lead to very much need and misery on this world. Today, on the chairs of the prophets sit the scribes and the Pharisees, and everything they preach to the people is barefaced lies and deception. They are hypocrites and twisters of the truth. Outwardly, before the people, they seem devout and good, but inwardly they are full of hypocrisy, transgression and falseness. Inside themselves they are more evil than every nest of snakes or vipers, and they claim to be great in their thinking and knowledge, yet they possess no understanding. But upon them will come all the righteous blood which flowed on earth because of them, from the first prophet onwards who their fathers and forefathers murdered, up to the blood of those who they will yet murder in the future. They murder in the name of love and justice and thereby actually intend to serve only their own greed for wealth and power. They have transformed the teaching of the Spirit, and the laws and recommendations of creation, into a very evil cult and frighten the humans with death, with the vengeance of their bloodthirsty God and with sword-bearing angels. They teach the humans to be afraid of the splendor and allness of creation because they deny its existence and replace it with their God and their saints. Truly, so is it, and the coming times will be very bad. 50. There will be wailing and the gnashing of teeth in the world, and the blood of uncountable, innocently sacrificed and murdered ones will deeply saturate the dry earth. Woe to this world and these humans, their lot will be very hard right into the distant future. Truly, so will it be. One still sees in me only the human born of earth, and that I am a revolutionary and fight against untruth, but that badly interprets me. But I know the truth and possess the wisdom of knowledge, the powers of the Spirit and of thinking and the will to fulfill my mission. All the hate against me will not keep me from my path. The truth is more important than the transient pain of the body. This can be tortured and destroyed, but the truth and the Spirit can never be killed. This truth is not yet known at this time, but this will change in the future. Truly, out of my true humanity, a cult will be set up, which will bring with it very bad and deadly consequences. Seen in me, however, is still only the human, which I truly also am, but soon a form of malevolence will be made out of me and I will be equated with creation. Truly, I know these events of the future, and, indeed, I cannot change them, not even if I rebel against them. I was born a human, I live as such and, as such, fulfill my appointed mission. But also as a human I will suffer the fate of corporal death in 83 years. By then, my body will be very old, yet my spirit and thinking will remain undiminished. The coming event, which is chosen for me, as a martyr, will also change nothing in regard to that. The event contains only bodily pains, but they will be lost on the wind through the power of the Spirit and my thinking and knowledge as well as my wisdom and love. Truly, it will be so, and afterwards I will end my mission. Edward says, "Excuse me please if I interrupt you, yet I believe that I am indeed permitted to do that. Your expositions are very informative for me, but it appears to me that I can recognize, from that you, in a certain sense, have succumbed to Welsh mirrors, and thereby digress from the actual questions. Would it not, perhaps, therefore be better if I ask my own questions?" Jmmanuel says, "Truly, you are very sensitive, because pain about the world bores into me.